Okay.
We on the air?
Yeah, when you're done with the meeting, you're gonna just up here, see where that says end? Oh, I'll show Kevin. You just
Okay.
push that button, you have to tap this bar to activate that, but it'll push to say end. How are you? Before you get comfy, let me show you something real quick to shut this down, because I'm not gonna stay. This is getting live streaming, so this will just record you. Just tap the top bar there and then see where it says end, just push end, and then that will stop everything, YouTube as well as your recording on Zoom.
Okay.
All right, if you need anything, you have my cell number, I'll come down, but this should be able to run without me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll just lock the bottom for you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Well,
Good, how are
congratulations on the new job.
Thank you so much. You like it?
Thanks for the discussion there. I'm sure I'm going to. It's only my third day too.
Okay.
Zach, which one would you like to take?
I'll take minutes.
You okay taking minutes?
Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you.
All right, what time is it? Which time it is?
7:01 I got.
And you have the agenda.
That's 3. And call to order, approval of the agenda. If there are no objections,
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
if there are no objections, the agenda can be approved as received.
Okay.
All right. So item number 1 is discussion and action in preparation for a first reading of ordinance 2021-06 water, creating a seat on the water commission for voting representative, resident, and the corporation of Baldwin. So I sent to you the suggested revisions formatted for presentation at council on Monday. Is there any discussion on those?
I understand this. This is exactly what the Water Commission had requested and presented, right?
Right.
Yeah. It looks like this should solve the issue. And I move to accept. I move to accept this ordinance number 2021-06 as presented and send it to the town council.
Second.
All right, any further discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 2, discussion and action in preparation for a first reading of ordinance 320 to address parking issues related to commercial vehicles. And I sent that to you as well, formatted. You'll see that the addition would be 320.15. There's already a 320.15 in Article 320 of the codified ordinances. But that would be moved to 0.98. Since it deals with enforcement, it should go toward the end of that article. So the new insertion would become
And basically, the new you're formatting, word for word, pretty much what the mayor sent us earlier.
Right, that's right.
Yeah. I think, as I've heard the issue, that mainly we're concerned with, something clarifying, where and when, commercial vehicles and RVs can park in town. And I only had one question about it. As I'm reading C, item C, no person shall park any commercial or recreational vehicle as defined in this section on any street of the town, except for the purpose of loading or unloading, and then only for the period of time which is spent in the actual loading or unloading of such vehicle. My only concern is this going to make illegal the home paramount trucks if they have to park on a street at a residence and provide service, or the lawn care trucks?
It's a really good point.
And I wondered if that could be taken care of by amending C briefly to say, except for the purpose of loading or unloading or providing service at a residence, or business, and then only for the period of time spent. Would that take care of it? You see my concern, Jim?
Seems to me that it would. Why don't you move we amend it?
Yeah. No person shall park any commercial or recreational vehicle as defined in this section on any street of the town except for the purpose of loading or unloading. And I would add, or providing service to a residence or business, comma. And then only for the period of time which is spent in the actual loading, unloading, or service.
Are you moving that we add that amendment? A second.
I'm gonna need the language of that second add to that. Can you read that?
Yeah, I move to amend it or providing service to residents. Or providing service to a residential business only for the amount of time spent providing that service.
Read that again.
He's going to add or providing service to a residential business only,
Residence or business.
or that's what I said.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Only for the amount of time spent providing that service.
And I am open to cleaning that up if you see it needs a little tweaking. Maybe
Seems so to me.
Okay, yeah, I think that's good. Okay, I think it's good.
so. Do we need to vote on the amendment to the draft, or
You can vote on the amendment to the draft. It's probably a good idea, and then make a separate motion to forward it to the town council for approval,
okay?
review and approval.
So I would vote aye for the change.
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's approved.
And then I move that we accept the draft. I don't have the number in front of me.
2021, so.
The draft of ordinance number 2021-07 as amended, and present to the town council for first reading.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion on that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Okay, number 3, discussion and action in preparation for a first reading, creating a fence ordinance and related revisions to ordinance 1304 and appendix A, historic district standards and guidelines. So Chris, you had sent us a suggested revision. It was pretty simple.
Yeah, and can I explain that to you, where my thinking is coming from?
Sure.
This has been something that's been dogging the BZA for some time, is that our ordinances do not currently allow fences in the setback. So every time someone wants to build a fence in the obvious place where you want to build fences, it has to go before the BZA. And to my knowledge, the only place where that is actually banned is in 1304.02. Setbacks, footprint, coverage, structure orientation, and height limit. And Jim, I can give you this draft if that'll help.
Okay.
Currently, it says setbacks, structures and other improvements shall be placed or erected upon a lot as follows, and then it defines the setback. So my idea and proposal is to add 3 simple words and a comma into that sentence. other than fences, comma, structures and other improvements shall be placed or erected upon a lot as follows. Now, to my knowledge, that's the only place where the setback issue appears in our ordinances, but I could be wrong on that. I wrote the chair of the BZA to get his feedback, but it was done late enough that I don't think he's found that email in time to respond to it.
The paper that I gave to each of you is a suggested revision from 2019, and that went to the town council for approval at that time. The town council did not approve it because there were some objections from a member of the town council plus the mayor, and it was decided to send it back to the planning commission and to the historic landmarks commission for their review, and that those two commissions should send their suggestions to the ordinance review committee for consideration of how to fix the problem with fences in the ordinance. And nothing ever came back to us. I don't think that the mayor had sent an official correspondence to each of those commissions in that regard, as far as I know, or as far as I remember. But this discussion on how to resolve the problem with fences goes all the way back to at least 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been discussed quite a few times. It came before the town council in 2017 as ordinance 2017-05, and that one, just like 2019-03, was not approved because there were some objections that were voiced. And as you can see, it was 2019-03 and also 2017-05 are much more complex than the revision that you're recommending.
Yeah.
There
There certainly may be other, lots of other issues about fences that are worth dealing with, but this one about the setback has just given homeowners and property owners and the BZA headaches since that time. What was it, 2016? So I would suggest, because this I haven't seen before, and obviously has a lot of stuff going on in it. But if we could take care of that one little issue with 3 little words, and then maybe start.
Well, it's not really that simple. That's the problem. Because if you look at what I handed you there, in 1314.02, it creates a new section G, which I don't know where that G came from. I don't remember now because the ordinance right now only goes up to, I think, D. But you see the suggested language here talks about how to place the fence on the property line or near the property line. It deals with changes that need to be made in Appendix A. There are a few things there that have to be addressed. If you look at G4B. And that ordinance from 2019, recommended ordinance from 2019. It talks about a written agreement between the property owners on each side of the fence. And that arose out of a dispute that was happening in town between two property owners at that time. So unfortunately, I think it's a little bit of a complicated issue.
Than just allowing within the setback.
I think so.
Well, then it becomes an issue, do we have the time and wherewithal to woodshed this tonight and really go over in detail, or do we take it home and review it and try to not knowing the background on what the what the issues were other than the setback. I'd like to get more background on that and then study it a bit. But if we, if we think that we should go forward and present something for Monday's meeting, we can attack it.
Well, I think the town council meeting on Monday, the agenda for that meeting, let me look at it right now. I don't think that it's worded in such a way that we're expected to approve an ordinance at that time.
Let's see. I thought we did get it in there. Let's see.
It says discussion and action and preparation for the first reading. So we're not doing the first reading on Monday at the town council meeting.
Okay. Which is different from these other two, right? These that we just.
Yes.
Okay.
Because they're up for approval.
Oh. Okay. So what do you guys want to do with
I
this?
think we should take it home and study it.
Yeah, and I forgot that I had done this, and I just found it on my computer as we've been sitting here. I wrote a history starting in February of 2017, leading up until January of 2020 about this issue, and I'll send that to each of you as well.
It'd be great. Yeah.
But like I said, it actually goes before February 2017. I think the Planning Commission, I'm almost 100% sure in 2016 was discussing this issue, and it was brought to the Ordinance Review Committee or Council, one of the two, by the Planning Commission. At that time, I think Nancy Case was already on the Planning Commission, and I think she's the one that forwarded the information to me from the Planning Commission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would love to see the history and the background, and then study the language and see if the coming from the BZA that it addresses the that it doesn't complicate things more. Addresses the issues there at least. You think we could meet in a couple of weeks on this and maybe some of the other things we're gonna discuss?
Certainly, yeah.
Do you
With my
need
new
to-
job, I can do that easily
Okay,
before I can really plan very far.
Yes.
That was a problem. So I'm gonna send this information to you right now.
Do you think we need any motion on that to table it or just?
Not if there's consensus.
Okay,
Yeah, consensus.
Okay, so I've just sent that information to you. So on Monday at the town council meeting, then, you know, we can at least give an update. We've, you know, discussed this. I've sent the history to you and the other information, and we'll be meeting again to review this further. Hopefully be able to finally come to some kind of language that will be acceptable.
and I'd love to get that to the council by October meeting for first reading.
Yeah, and I think with the town council we have right now, it's going to be hopefully be an easier process than it was before.
I think you'd be sure of that.
But is that an issue because of controversy within the amendments that were proposed? Okay.
Once you read, if you read through what I gave you here a little further, you'll see where the controversial issues were.
Okay.
And some of those issues could be held to a later date. I mean, we could go ahead and resolve the main fence issue
Mhm.
sooner and then deal with the other things in that proposed ordinance.
Yeah,
Afterward.
so that may be important as we do our homework to kind of look and see if we can't solve every issue, at least to get that crucial setback problem taken care of. No.
Okay, moving on. You're ready. Discussion and action on revisions to Article 1311, permitted and conditional use related to short-term rentals.
Now, my understanding on this is that state law now through the home rule state restrictions does not allow us to put most restrictions on short-term rentals. And our lawyer has recommended that we basically remove those from prison ordinances, right?
Right. Yeah, that was when home rule was made permanent. There was a provision added in that we can no longer regulate short-term rentals.
And I haven't dug into the language itself, but basically what I would like to see is just, removal of the restrictions that are in the present ordinance. But also insert language that makes it clear that folks using their property as short-term rentals in Harpers Ferry have to get a business license, have to pay taxes, and abide by state health and safety laws. We can spell some of them out, like, the noise ordinances and all, and others. If we include something that just says all other state or all other town ordinances that apply to all properties.
Right, and the state code, I'm reading that section of state code right now, it says, a municipality may regulate activities that arise when a property is used as a rental, provided that such regulation applies uniformly to all properties, without regard to whether such properties are used as a rental.
So, in other words, we can't include what it presently says about, numbers of bedrooms or number of guests, but we can expect that they would abide by the same laws, that they're not going to be able to have a loud party out back.
Right.
Or have lights, whatever, if you will. I did have one question, and Kevin, do you know, the state has not differentiated hostels with the other B&Bs and vacation rentals, right?
I'm not sure of that. I guess that would be a question for our attorney, because yeah, that would have to be a question for the attorney. Let me read this entire section to you. Municipalities may not prohibit or effectively limit the rental of a property in whole or in part, or regulate the duration, frequency, or location of such rental in whole or in part. A municipality may regulate activities that arise when a property is used as a rental, provided that such regulation applies uniformly to all properties without regard to whether such properties are used as a rental. Provided, however, that nothing in this subdivision may be construed to prohibit a municipality from imposing a hotel occupancy tax as prescribed in section 7:18.1 &c of this code. So that first sentence kind of is ambiguous whether or not it would include hostels. Hostels considered a rental, or are they considered something more like a hotel? And that's what we would have to clarify with our attorney.
Is there a differentiation between hotel and
There's not right there. It doesn't say specifically.
No, to me, it sounds like they're talking about hotel, hostel, vacation rental, B&B, any of that. So the main limits that would remain would be on, the size of the building, the historic guidelines, the noise ordinances, that. I don't know, we can ask our lawyer for clarification, but to me, it would not make a difference whether you're renting a bed or a bedroom.
Right, because it says in whole or in part, which sounds like it would make hotels part of this prohibition. That would be the case, just since Yeah, I think we're gonna have to get clarification from our town attorney on this before we can really get into amending the ordinance, because we don't know whether or not hostels are definitely included in this, and if they're not, then how do we address hostels differently from any other kind of short-term rental? Or do we want to regulate them differently? I mean, those are things that we would have to figure out. Unless you feel otherwise, if you feel comfortable moving forward with revising this ordinance now.
I think you're correct. We get clarification.
Say that again. Jim?
I think that Kevin's correct, clarification first.
Yeah. Mhm. I think what we can do though is we can start playing with a draft and kind of have it going at least with the part that we know it addresses the bed and breakfast and the and think about ways that we can reinforce the idea that yes, we're not putting special restrictions on these, but as a business, taxes must be paid, and all of the other town and county and state laws need to be followed.
Trying to pull up 1311 right now. Just to be a little bit of context. 1311, I want to read it for a little bit of context.
I have a paper copy here if that helps.
Now that I look at this ordinance, I think, I would still want clarification from the attorney, but it sounds like 1311.02A, section 2 would probably need to be removed. in its
Yeah, to
entirety.
me, as I read that ruling that we got from the state via our attorney, we basically have to eliminate this and also expand bed and breakfast in vacation rental and hostel possibly as permitted use.
Well, if you go down to B, 3 and 4, do you have 3 and 4? It sounds like 3 and 4 would need to be removed in their entirety as well.
Right, and added as permitted uses.
Would we have to add it somewhere or just remove those 2 sections?
I'm not talking about adding those sections, but possibly add them to the list. Just that these are allowed as permitted uses. 1, 2. If you say the same that they are. But then following those, we could add the clarifications I suggested that the business license, the taxes, the all state laws and regulations and all parking, noise, light, things, not that we have to list every one of those, but make it clear that these businesses have to follow all the same laws as the rest of the residential zone.
Right. Would you feel comfortable putting that in, typing that up somehow, and so that we could send that to the attorney?
Yeah. And I'll try to mention the question that we want to make sure that we are talking about hostels. To me, I don't know that there's really any clear differentiation between a bed and breakfast and a hotel. I mean, ordinarily we think of size and
Bed and breakfast is defined here as owner occupied. I think it is elsewhere in the ordinances as well. It seems to me.
well, we have to take that out.
Right, we do have to take that out.
And
So we would need to clarify whether or not hotels would need to be included now as a permitted use here,
yeah.
and hostels.
Short of someone being given the variances to build an 11-bedroom house in Harper's Ferry, I don't see a hotel as being much of a danger of happening in the residential zone.
Right.
With our other restrictions. And I don't know if we say, short-term rentals, including blah, blah, blah. I don't know that we have to list every one of them. So yeah, I can take a stab at the draft and forward to you guys.
Okay.
And then if you like what I've done, you can send it off to Ken Sayre to look at.
Okay, sounds good, thank you. Any further issues or concerns, suggestions?
I guess only to see if they, like you say, if there are restrictions that appear elsewhere in our ordinances. This is the only one that I knew about. But, we might want to look them over. I'll work on the draft that you guys can kind of survey and do we, this is going to be important going on. Do we have any searchable version of our ordinances where you can plug in words?
Yeah, well, it's a PDF file. We have one PDF file of the complete ordinances, and you can do a search for any term.
Okay, the search works in the PDF. Okay,
So
so
you
that.
open the PDF, just click Control F, and then type in wherever the word.
Oh, okay. Okay, good to know.
Okay, moving on. Item number 5, discussion and action on review of current ordinances as related to violation of public nuisance, safety, and health codes of properties. I don't know the background about this item being added to the agenda.
Yeah, I think the mayor just mentioned that there are issues that we have to deal with, but there were no specifics, and I don't know the present ordinance well enough to even know what we have, let alone what changes are needed. Read that again, please, Kevin.
Discussion and action on review of current ordinance as related to violation of public nuisance, safety, and health codes of properties.
I'm assuming that's dealing with the issues on Putnam Street. During the pandemic, the people on Putnam Street were very upset, people going into the yards, parking in their yards.
No, I don't think that's it, Jim. I think it's more the dilapidated properties and
Oh, did this arise out of the Weaver property, maybe?
I don't know, it's not clear enough to
Yeah.
me.
I think we're gonna have to at least get a list of what the problems are that the mayor and others are seeing, and then we can look at it and see if we can address them in the language. Or they can provide a draft.
Yeah, because this seems pretty vague. I don't know what.
Extremely.
And I ran off 1109 because that was the only thing I immediately found on nuisances and property maintenance.
Yeah, that's the nuisance ordinance.
But do you know if there's anything that I think the mayor used 2 terms, and I didn't really know the difference. What was it? Dilapidated, and there was another word. Neglected. Dilapidated and neglected, and I didn't know whether our ordinances dealt with those separately. So anyway, that's something else I'd like to know.
They would both fall under 1109.
Okay.
And 1109 defines nuisance and includes dilapidated as a nuisance.
Okay. Well, how about if we ask, on Monday, if the mayor and anyone else concerned about specifics, give us what they feel like the issues are, what cannot be enforced, or what.
And just the background leading to this item on the agenda.
Yeah.
What exactly are we looking to address immediately? Okay, any further discussion, suggestions? on any of the items on the agenda?
I think we did a good job, and I move we adjourn.
Second,
All right, all in favor?
I.
We're adjourned at 7:54.